Redemption Song, Part 2. I had my warning, but I paid it no heed. Father said, don't speak to strangers whose faces are black with that quarry hole, black hole, legacy of slave and plantation cast down upon the suffering earth. I went to Liverpool to be a nurse, and then to London, and I looked for home everywhere. They gave me their English words. It was theirs that I learned. I pronounced them all with careful mouth. I read their literature and I left all in my bun. But when I met Mr. Jones' Vegetables, I spoke my love to him at the back door. I kept my language tight to myself, and it wasn't for my girls. I gave them English, the Welsh way. On every black face I saw my dark mother and slate waist. No black, he had said, but black was my wanting desire. The first had a GI uniform, a Yankee was. I gave him a taste of the void, the passionate abyss. Black skin on white, white skin on black. Then he was gone, went back to America in a Lancaster bomber. I went back to Wales a Lanamore. I was an unmarried mother with a black child born in a home, just up the road from this dying bed. But I was married too, with a husband at the war. And John Coleman came after me with his gun. The sins of the fathers fell on the daughters. Maggie, my big sister, said I was a sinner, not a mother or a wife, that I would suffer to expiate all sin and sorrow. She made me kneel and kiss the cross that hung about her neck, low down to her waist, and brought me bargains from Woods's Colwyn Bay, wrapped in Mam's bread paper. I became mother of all sorrow, unkissed and untouchable. I was weakness, denial, betrayal and innocence. Oh, I resisted old Johnny Willie. I was a real naughty girl, a real hog and droog. Drawn into the black I was, obsessed I was, which drew me in and spat me out. And then there was Winston, a devil of a fine fellow he was. He was a young boy, eager and determined to suck on the wisdom of Bethesda breast, suck the Valley Mother. England was our meeting place, and English where we met. Bohemian English it was, the language of poets, writers, artists and madmen. Francis Bacon, he shared a studio by Euston Station. Mervyn Peake, he used to smoke more than one cigarette at a time. Salvador Dali judged Winston's paintings. I turned his black face white, white flesh to my earthy black. I made him whiter, taught him how to eat and dress himself, how to use a knife and fork, shop up the West End. And his black skin covered my shame and made me respectable again. He was my redemption. His mother had given him trousers made of sugar sacks, but they were rich and educated with servants. I had the manners, he had the education. Artist he was, but he wanted to be a writer. I made him a writer because he couldn't write then. He rode a bike all the way to Wales, he did, all the way from London to see me, and I stayed up all night, checking his words and manuscripts. Why, when I first saw those dark eyes, I knew he was my destiny, my life. We tried to make a culture out of nothing. He was on his own relentless journey, and I on mine. Untamed we were like Odysseus, and we were together like a raft on the inexorable sea. Man, we had some courage. He gave me his black skin, ships to Africa, desert caravans, and hot and quenching sun. The Red Sea, colonial life where we were strangers in black mist. We dined with kings and emperors by the side of black flowing white Nile. He raised us high, gave me jungle with rivers of home and luscious fruits, not baramenin. At the home I loved writing with my blue pen, and I gave him my passion because that was the way then. I told Sally Bach to buy Wuthering Heights with her pocket piece, and they beat my sinful flesh. Won a prize at the Eisteddfod I did, and I went to the county school. I was a good girl. Scholarship I was. You needed £40 to be a teacher in those days. Old man touching mother's breast, full of white maggots, smelling of mountain breeze. They gave me words I could believe in, and the words would hang there like icons to my loving heart. Love, love thy neighbour, family is God's way, blood, family, words I could meet with my passion and my Celtic red hair. That's all empty now, gone like the summer leaves in the Avon. I'm coming home to Bethesda, to the black hole of the slate quarry, and to my death. I tremble like a little child. I'm going home to my mam. I had Eva, but he wasn't interested in another man's child. I gave him Constance with her soft black hair to stand by his side, and when he beat her, I stood in terror, remembering my own dark flesh, brown skin beaten in punishment for our sex. I gave him Prudence to tickle his fancy, to amuse his savage heart, a playmate for his childish affection, her black-red hair instead of me. He said, she's like you, and spared her pale skin. Her reward was that only soft hands reached her. She would never know my black heart. Oh, my little Agnes was never fully born, my little self. Too sensitive she was for the world. Oh, you'll never be able to work, I would say, and I couldn't stand her, for her eyes reflected continual reproach, poisoning me she was with her reality. She protected me from him the best she could. What about Mummy, she said. She spoke up and she became mother and I a little girl. She's only a little girl stuck in a dead mother image. She is my fear and hatred of father, resistance and redemption. She could have saved us all. She was stronger than he was, but when it came to the punishment, she remained mute. Was it different then in those remembered hills? I gave it all to him. I was frightened when they had their punishment, in terror of my own innocence being broken. The rhythmic cutting marked the death of pain and pleasure, and joined my innocence with guilt. He wanted those girls strong. He knew what they would have to face, but what he didn't see was that they were strong already. He wanted them educated, boarding school and all of that, but they already were. I made sure of that. He did wrong, but he did his best. They were not my girls, but his as I was his, and I made him sinful, tyrant and cruel, lifting the weight of love and sin from my panny. Wash your panny, girls, and make it clean.